32 photographs in your mother's album. And you are alone in 30 of them. One girl, one birthday cake, one pair of eyes looking back. People turn those pages and say, how lonely. Here is what they miss. You were never lonely in those pictures. Not once. You remember the hum of a quiet house on a Saturday afternoon. Whole world running inside one small head. So what did growing up alone build in you? Tonight, we answer it, starting with the sentence you have heard your whole life. It must have been lonely, people say it the moment they find out. At dinner parties, in break rooms, on first meetings, with a small tilt of the head. As if you had disclosed an old injury, and you learned early there was no answer they would accept. Say yes and confirm their story. Say no and watch them decide you are covering something. So you learned to shrug and change the subject and carry the truth privately. The way you carry most things, the truth is stranger than their pity. You were alone constantly and lonely almost never, and most people cannot hold those two facts together. Go back to the house where it started, a very particular kind of quiet. Both parents working, most likely, a key on a string or under a mat. Long afternoons where the house belonged entirely to you, and the silence was not empty. It was material, something you could build with. You made kingdoms out of a hallway. You held long conversations with people who did not exist and knew more about you than anyone who did. You read past your bedtime with a flashlight, not to rebel, but because the books felt like siblings. And you were in the middle of something together, always, page after page. And there was the other education, the one nobody names. You grew up at the adult table. Because there was no children's table, because you were the only child at most gatherings of your family's life. By 7 you could follow a conversation about mortgages and marriages without missing a thread. By 10 you knew when to be invisible and when a well-placed question would delight the room. You became fluent in adult, decades before your own adulthood arrived, while other kids practiced on siblings. You practiced on grown men and women, and it shows to this day. In the way younger coworkers assume you were born composed, without ever asking why. But name the weight honestly, because there was weight. Every hope in the house had one address. Every report card was the only report card. Every disappointment landed undiluted. With no brother's chaos to hide behind, no sister's rebellion to make yours look mild. You were the family's entire second generation, its whole future, seated alone at the kitchen table doing homework. Some only daughters bent under it. Most did something quieter. They learned to manage their parents' feelings. The way an adult manages weather, reading the pressure, adjusting the sails, becoming, very young, the emotional caretaker. Of the people raising you, nobody assigned it. There was simply no one else to share the shift. Now watch how the childhood shows up in the woman. You are the friend who needs a day alone. After a weekend of company, and you stopped apologizing for it somewhere in your 40s, your friendships run few and deep, chosen with the care of a woman who was never issued companions. And so learn to select them. Your closest friend has probably been your closest friend for 30 years. She is the sister you interviewed for the job. Conflict sits strangely on you. Women with siblings can scream at each other on Tuesday and share fries on Friday. You never learned fighting as a form of intimacy, so when voices rise, something in you steps back and quietly reevaluates the entire relationship. Peace is not a preference for you. It is the native climate, and solitude is not a state you tolerate, it is a room you own. You travel alone and like it. You eat in restaurants alone without the armor of a phone. The evening the plans got canceled and everyone else groaned, you drew a bath. People call it independence, and they are close, but the truer word is completeness. You have been your own company since the beginning. You are, and always were, a finished sentence. But be honest about the bill, because it is arriving now, in this decade. And it arrives addressed to you alone. The parents are aging, with no sibling to split the shifts. No brother to take the phone calls. No sister to share the guilt with at midnight. Every decision about their care lands on one desk, yours and yours alone. Friends with siblings complain about the fighting over these choices, and you listen with a complicated heart. Because at least their burden has witnesses, yours has none, and behind the logistics waits the harder arithmetic. The one you do at night and put away by morning when they go. The last people who remember you as a child go with them. No sibling will sit with you afterward and say, "Remember the lake house, remember the green car, remember how Dad hummed." You will become the only living librarian of an entire childhood, whole rooms of memory, and one key holder. There are smaller costs too, and they count, the holidays that thin out instead of multiplying. The family tree that narrows to a single line on your side of the page. The nurse asking, "Is there family we should call?" and the half-second you spend translating your answer. Into something the form can hold, you have felt all of it, and you have told almost no one. Because the world already decided your childhood was the sad part, and you refuse to hand them the ending. So hear the other side plainly, because it is larger than the bill. The woman who has never issued a family learned to build one by hand, and hand-built things hold. Look at the people around you, the chosen sister, the friends of 30 years, the neighbor with a key. The godchildren who call you first, none of them were assigned to you by birth. Every single one was selected, tended, kept. Women with siblings inherit their circle. You architected yours, and architecture built on purpose stands longer than architecture built by accident. And the self-companionship the world pitied is now the exact skill your generation is scrambling to learn. In their 50s, the being alone without being lonely, the full evening in your own presence. The silence as a room and not a sentence. You have been fluent since you were 7. They are taking classes, and the child at the adult table became the woman every room relies on. The one who reads the pressure, who asks the well-placed question, who holds the family memory, who does not need managing. People have always said, "You seem like you would have been an only child," and meant it as a small accusation. Take it as the compliment it accidentally is. It means the completeness shows, so tonight, if you want, take the album down. 32 photographs, alone in 30. Look again at the girl with the birthday cake and the steady eyes. She was not waiting for someone to enter the frame. She was already whole inside it. And she grew up into you, a woman who was never a lonely picture, only ever a complete one. Sit with that, if you want. I will sit with it too. We do not have to figure out the rest tonight.